Hello, hello, hello. Tina O here. So, I am looking at my phone because I have some notes in here. You have tuned into me to hear me read about your personal myth and how that connects with one of the stories that really changed the way that I live. So, a number of almost 5 years ago now, I had tonsil cancer. And as I came through tonsil cancer, this story from this book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, the Bluebeard story, really spoke to me because I realized at the end of my cancer journey, that I couldn't go back to my life before, because my life before had a perspective and a mindset and an approach to living that clearly created a crack in my immune system, and cancer moved in. And you've heard me speak about this before, about what I call story ripples in Core Story. And as we come into the world, the visual that I like to use is we come into the world as a story stone. And as that story stone is dropped into the water or into the ocean of this life, again, metaphorically speaking, that the story of us, which is in this stone, ripples out. And each of those ripples is one of our core poison points or core resistance. It is part of the narrative of us, and it is an invitation for expansion. And this story, this Bluebeard story, and my journey of going through tonsil cancer was a massive ripple. And there were multiple ripples that I had walked through previously. And the cancer journey was the third of the fourth pillar of my life coming down. My life as I knew it, coming down. And so wherever you may be in your journey of this one life of yours, I invite you to consider that if your life was a narrative and your life was a personal myth, that you might look at, sorry for the bump, that you may look at these ripples in your life as an invitation for expansion. And as I go through personal myth, you're going to hear it in this story. And what I'm really inviting you to do is imagine that you are the main character in this story, just as you are the main character in your story. And through every story ripple that you go through, it's a moment of resistance or core poison of your story. And on the other side of it, you no longer see the world in the way that you did before. And these are, I want you to listen for this in this story. In our own personal myth, meaning this one life that we live, we start as the innocent. And I recognize that as we go through our life, we're actually, we move from the naive or the ingenue and we mature, and we realize, wait a minute, I can't quite stay that innocent anymore. And yet, at every moment of resistance, every ripple we walk through, we're essentially coming right back to just another version of the innocent state. It's a place where we think we know. It's a place where we think we trust. It's a place where we think we can close our eyes and just follow along on autopilot. And of course, we can't. So stage one is the innocent. We start as the innocent. And then as the innocent, we make a very naive decision, an autopilot decision, if you will. And as we make that naive decision, there is a villain archetype that enters the scene, and a warning is set up. But what happens? Our naive self makes the choice, and we make a human choice. And in Shakespeare language, we call that the tragic flaw, right? Every hero has a tragic flaw. And after we make that very human choice, there's a chase. Or in this particular book, she calls it the dark man dream happens. And in that dark man dream, we are chased by the results of the human choice that we made, which again is the poison chasing us, saying, okay, transformation is afoot. And then there is a battle. Then where we decide what we're going to do. Are we going to continue being chased? Are we going to stand? What are we going to do? So there's a battle. And then there's a death, because somebody's got to die in a myth. Sometimes it's the villain that dies. Sometimes it is the innocent that dies. But the very transformation through that resistance is something collapses so that something emerges. What's beautiful about a myth is that there's actually no wrap up to a myth. In a myth, because we're dealing with archetypes, and archetypes which are these primal human parts of us that we relate to without even knowing why we're relating to them. And so the wrap up of the myth is it's left with you, the human, to unpack it in the way that you want to unpack it, in the way that that resistance is speaking to you. I'm going to stop this now, and I'm going to do another, like a part 2, because you may have just wanted just the pieces of personal myth. I'm going to come back and I'm going to read the Bluebeard story in Women Who Run with the Wolves. Thanks for tuning in.